remember last week we talked about in combining the senses, right? That we usually think about our senses as being outward, but there's also ways in which our senses combine to create different inward senses, right? So the idea of being able to perceive and feel, like, what's the sense of touch on the inside of your body, not just as it touches on the outside of your body. How do you feel things and notice things? What's the, what limited role does vision have, except especially outward vision, where you kind of need to soften your eyes and either close your eyes, but especially in centering maybe, but also even when you're doing yoga, you don't want to be like reading a book while you're trying to do yoga, right? You don't want to be outwardly trying to see too much. So the eyes are soft because there's a thing in yoga called Pratihara, which is the withdrawal from the senses, right? Which is one of the limbs of yoga. So like, especially with the eyes, you're not trying to discriminate content. Remember last week we were talking about that maybe the eyes are really important to take in light, but not necessarily to discriminate in vision. But so as you're trying to feel, so like just notice, just without being too yogic about it, notice just what the breath feels like as it hits your rib cage, especially on inhalation. So that back and forth is actually a felt sensation, right? So there's different ways in which you're activating, like, or having the sensation of touch, or two things coming together. The difference between feeling your lungs, your rib cage hit by your lungs. When I grab this, I'm not able to feel what the bottle's feeling. The difference between having the inhalation of my breath is that both I'm the initiator and the receiver. I can feel both the lungs expanding and the rib cage receiving. So you've got this extra level of dynamic when you're feeling inwardly, right? But it is still touch, right? So you're sitting there feeling these things. And notice that you not only are your eyes softening, but to feel and watch and participate all at once, right? The way the ribs are moving just with your normal breathing. Yeah, kind of have to listen. You have to kind of not try to read a book. And there's a feeling, and the better you get at it, there's a feeling of softness on the inner ear in order to perceive inwardly. The brain, because Iyengar talks a lot about this, the brain needs to be a receiver. It needs to go into neutral. It needs to be passive in order to hear, perceive, feel more of what's happening. Because otherwise, the brain ignores input. So before you're starting asana, you're just like noticing the different senses that are in play in order for you to feel more inwardly. So this isn't just quieting down your mind. This is like coming to your senses. But now before you start asana, as you're paying all this attention on the inside, open another part of your perception to be located in the whole room. Right? So like open to the whole room, to the light in the room, to the space, the empty space in the room. Like let the room touch your skin, right? Whether that's the breeze or whatever. So you're now starting to move more outward because your action is going to start on the inside and move to the outside. So we're taking time to discriminate the different threads of both inward and outward senses. So now, with the lights on in both directions, feeling both inward and outward, feel your feet on the floor or your foot pedals. Activate your sitting bones slightly down. Lift your lower abdomen up through your chest, but don't lose connection. It's almost like you're using your peripheral vision to feel the whole room, right? So you're beginning to activate and feel changes on the inside and let them communicate and integrate with what's outside. This will be the key to balance, right? It's not just succeeding on the outside. It's being more full on the inside. So you're lifting your chest, lift under the collarbones, let awareness, softer awareness, drop down from the base of the neck to the tailbone. Broaden across the collarbones, broaden between the shoulder blades. As you do, hit down through your sitting bones, down through the inner heels. Balance your head over your neck, because that'll make you balance in the room. And it opens you up again. Soften your jaw, the inside of your mouth. Relax around your temples. Be alert with your spine, sturdy in your body, connected to what's around you. Come to your senses, all of them, both inward and out. For those of you that can easily, bring your hands into prayer. Now do all these actions with a midline. If you can't bring your hands into prayer, still feel where your spine is. Be more aware of the midline. Be aware where like each cheekbone is, or each side, each shoulder tip. So you're trying to figure out a midline in relationship to the sides. And you're trying to balance the sides. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. In centering, in the beginning, closing your eyes is not a bad idea, if you can stay balanced. Repose so your mind doesn't lose track of where it is. Feel your body. Let your body be a touchstone that stabilizes your mind. Your mind is formless. It needs stability. Good, and then release. Take your sternum up towards your chin down over your sternum. So activate your spine even more, like make it a little bit more alert with a little bit more discipline. So you're activating now more. You're feeling, you're letting your inhalation touch the bottoms of your feet. Feel your inner thighs. Lift your sternum, drop your chin. Good, raise your head up. Open your eyes. So this traveling from inside to out, because when you get more, even more aware, there are times in yoga poses where you want to be moving from inside to out, but you want to receive the outside and move it in too. There's a lot, right? And the mind, the brain, the mind, remember the mind is like this funny thing, because one of its greatest potentials is it doesn't have boundary. Like you are literally bounded by virtually nothing to think about whatever you want, right? You can imagine, like I probably can't access Einstein's proof of relativity. Like that, I'm bounded that way. Like I don't have enough mathematical experience, but pretty much your mind is boundaryless. And that's its strength. It doesn't have edges. Beliefs provide edges. Judgments create reference and edges. And that's necessary because the mind is boundaryless, right? But that's also its weakness, is that it lacks boundary. It lacks stability, right? And I pretty much think that's why we evolved with a mind and a body, right? That the body plays an essential role in giving other inputs. If you only think and you never move, you will perish, right? If you only think and never eat, you will perish. I mean, these seems like obvious truths, but it's like, so what you're trying to create is getting to a level of experience to this where the senses in some ways precede your mind, where you're getting input into the brain before you're judging, right? And you're able to seamlessly combine that with action. That's what asana is teaching you, in my opinion, right? All right, so this idea of creating a sense of lightness that's felt, that's why we warm up, right? Well, I want you to lift up and let your sitting bones dangle. Or if you can't come off like this, let there be more space, because we're trying to make space in the low back. Because if you're sitting all the time, I'm telling you, you're losing crucial space and distance in your vertebrae. And that's why chiropractors can make a lot of money. They push on it to make it wake up again, right? Go over to your right, and then your left. So know that even when you're sitting, there's freedom waiting for you. I get so, it's too bad when I said, I did that workshop in mid-January on who says you can't be free. It's like freedom waits for you all over. It's not just always external freedom. So we're just trying to shake it up a little bit, right? So then I'm gonna back up and remember now, right now we're doing all this, not just to warm up the body, but to warm up the mind. So the mind starts to receiving more input. The mind always wants to be an expert on everything, right? It wants to kind of just know stuff, right? So it doesn't want to keep having new information, but we need it. So we're just kind of moving around, like, because the spine. And hey, Bethany, is Petrus on the call or not? In this class?
No.
I don't think so. I think we lost her, but
no, I'm here.
Lift up. Remember, he asked for sun salutation, and I was prepared to teach sun salutation this week, but then if he's not here, I should probably wait, right? All right, so then the process of being slightly in more control, so you get this light feeling where the mind actually starts to have more input. So now I want you to add some rhythm. So I want you to come, turn and push your right knee forward, your left shoulder back, and then slinkily switch. So don't just do this like a bodybuilder, make it slinky, right? So you're starting to move your femur bones in relationship to each other. So one's moving and the shoulder's going back, right? And you're going back and forth and you're lifting up. So now you're combining different, you're lifting up a little bit and going from side to side. And then release. And then now put your hands on your knees. Again, we're just letting the brain have more. Remember, your brain and your mind, maybe your brain receives way more than your mind does, right? So then you're just pulling back on one knee and pushing forward the other. And just again, making so there's asymmetrical forces coming through your pelvis, right? This isn't just stretching to warm up, right? To get your body warmed up. No, it's your mind that's the dull one. It's your mind that tries to reduce your experience so it can control more. But your brain likes all of it. whatever input's coming from your body, your brain's going to receive, because that's its job. So I'm just going back and forth, trying to get some of this like feeling, because it's when you do chair yoga, it's really easy to have your upper body move around more. It's tougher to get enough input in your legs. So now I'm still kind of going back and forth. Then I'm going to go over again. Then I'm going to go over again. Then I'm going to go forward with my left knee, back, and then forward with my right knee. I'm just going, but all the while, although I'm having my legs move some, I'm actually trying to activate your spine. So now this time when your left knee comes forward, pay attention to what your spine's doing. And if any of this stuff is aggravating or tense, I mean, don't do it. Don't cause yourself pain. All right. Then I'm going to go back over the back of my chair. Because before I start to do asana and then forward, I'm going to want lightness to be in my body. Right? I'm going to want that feeling. Good. And then take your legs. If you just spread them a little bit, I'm going to take them off my pedals. Because again, I'm just going through this thing where I want to like let there be more input through my body. So now I'm taking my knees apart. If you can be touching the floor well with your feet, that'd be great. But again, you're just trying to change your base and move your body, right? So I'm going back and forth because I'm going to make this, you know what? So it's so damn cold here in Minnesota. If you can start to create heat that comes from your spine, so Renee, don't get too hot, right? Right? And anyone with MS, don't get too hot. But like I'm just trying to warm you up, right? Back and forth, right? So your spine starts to get activated because you're right near a pose, right? And this next time over to your right, oh my God, it's a twist, right? So you just like pause for a second and then come back. So now we're doing the movement and adding a little bit of yoga, right? Because you're going back and forth, switching gravity, paying attention to how your arms move. Make it more like a dance, make it more like a song, right? The time to practice rhythm is when you're on balance, not when you're off balance. Good, and then release for a second. Bring your legs back on the underneath you. Because so much of when you have to be more safe in a chair, actually, this straight lines, it's kind of a boring pose when you always keep in the vertical midline, right? That's okay. It's also where your home base is, right? So after all that movement, just notice something. So when you're cold, there are a couple things, right? Getting your spine to move around will warm you up. I mean, you better have had some food in the last 5 or 6 days. You don't want to burn energy, but like when your spine starts to move, right? You start to warm up, right? And you know, this is a form of, if you just move your arms and get all sweaty, but remember, sweaty is going to cool you down, right? So you're looking for a type in the winter. You're looking for a type of heat generation that doesn't make you sweaty, right? Because sweating is the way your body cools down. So you're looking for a different kind of activation. So one of the best ways to stay warm is breathing. So I read about this, and it makes it, whenever I think about if you really want to generate a lot of heat, and I don't teach this breath, but there's a breath in some of these Ashtanga yogas, different kind of style of yoga that is called breath of fire, because it gets such fiery energy going, right? But it's your breathing. So if you notice when you're outside and cold, let's say, typically your breath gets more shallow, right? And in fact, you want to do just the opposite. So one of the stories that I keep really strong in my mind is that one of the tests, it's one of the monasteries up in the Himalaya, you know, wherever in Tibet or whatever, right? Where what they would do as part of the graduation test or the final exam is they'd give a a monk a wet wool blanket, and they'd make him go outside when it was winter time, when it was below zero, and he had the night to dry the blanket with his heat and not freeze, right? So this was a pranayama test. I don't recommend this for you, by the way. Like, don't go outside today with a wet blanket. I really don't think you and I are at the level to do that. All right, but there are stories of multiple monks not only drying the blanket, but also like melting the snow. The one I read about was in a 15-foot circumference around where his body was sitting, wrapped in a wet blanket, because his breath was generating so much heat, right? So that's how much potential heat there can come from your breathing, right? Even while sitting still. So it's not like he was doing, jumping jacks to stay warm. He was going inward, picking up the energy and moving it outward, so much so that it emanated off of his body. All right, so this movement, so we're going to go back to some movement again. So, but now we're, instead of just focusing on warming up and creating lightness, we're thinking about integrating it some with our breath, right? So you lift up, come down, inhale as I go over, exhale, inhale as I go over, inhale as I go back, exhale as I come forward. And if focusing on your breath directly is hard, don't do it. Because you're going to be breathing anyway. What I don't want you to do is hold your breath, okay, while you're doing this. So inhale up again, exhale down. So I'm going to place my hands now, right, one hand forward, one hand back, because I'm going to inhale and put my left knee forward. And then exhale and set myself back down. And then inhale and bring the knee back. And exhale. And then inhale and bring the other knee forward. And then exhale and bring it back. So I'm trying to coordinate what was just a playful movement. And I can't do it and talk at the same time, because every time I'm talking, I'm exhaling, right? That's the problem with teaching and doing this stuff with you, is I'm not inhaling well enough, right? And then so I'm going back and forth with trying to synchronize my breaths, right? And then coming back into center. And then inhaling back, and exhaling, coming forward. So where does your mind go when you come forward, right? Notice things that your mind, don't be thinking about your laundry in the washing machine right now. Feel the change of the pressure on your feet. Use that as a base. So if I have to be aware of my feet that I'm going to push off in a second, I'm typically going to hold my breath a little bit to find exactly where my feet are. Okay. And then I'm going to inhale and push off and lift my chest at the same time. And as soon as I hit the back of my chair, I'm going to exhale. And then I'm going to inhale again and go up and over. Then I'm going to exhale. Now my breath is way more shallow here. And then I'm going to come forward on the exhale. But I'm being aware of my feet. So I'm being really connected to my feet. So the Bill that's got the disc stuff, be careful of your back as we go forward, right? No, Dennis. And then inhale and come on back up. And then exhale, come on down. Remember, now we're combining a whole bunch of threads and a whole bunch of classes. Remember, when you're looking down, you're taking in less light, right? When you inhale and let your exhalation touch outwardly, you're bringing your head up and you're taking in more light. Then you're hitting the back of the chair and then inhaling again. And now you're trying to let the light touch the center of your chest. And then exhale. So you can tell we're right near where sun salutation would start really happening. Because remember this idea of sun salutation, we can do it again when Petrus is back. I'm going to do it a little bit today. But like the sun salutation, how do you salute anyone, right? You don't just salute up here. What if the major salute to the world would be right through here, right through the center of your spine, right through the core channel? So in this neck, as you sit here, now look, I'm trying to get really focused, putting my hands together, using symmetry, right? As each side of my forearms are touching my thighs, I'm being aware of each foot on the foot pedal, right? And then I'm going to take a few breaths, inhale, and whatever you think saluting with the interior of your center of your chest is, do it. So do you drop the salute when you exhale? No. You inhale and fill up the center of the chest. And on the exhale, if you lead it from the inner edge of each shoulder blade, the salute to the sun gets deeper with the exhalation if you do it from inside to out. And I hope when you're exhaling more from the inner edge of each shoulder blade, you're getting a feel of lift of the skin down the back body. Take the breath in, the breath out. Good, and now on this next inhalation, inhale, come back up over the chair. Exhale, come forward. Ground, right, with that slight pause, inhale, and lift your chest. You don't have to come all the way back yet. Now we're doing more like upward facing dog, and then exhale back down. So now what I'm wanting you to pay attention to, just watch for a second, instead of like doing this great big, huge part of the back bend and stuff, we're paying attention to a more dynamic, smaller lift, which is right here, right in here. Now the tendency when you salute with the center of your chest, the tendency is to do it from your low back, because that's the one that wants to go easier, right? So one of the really subtly difficult things that an advancing yoga practitioner starts to realize is that there are times where you have to sometimes go naturally with how your body and brain want to move, and sometimes you have to resist certain parts and let other certain parts open. But there's a constant interplay where you're actually, and sometimes it's more yogic to resist natural movement, because most likely what you're calling natural movement is actually just your habit. It's not actually fully natural with what you're experiencing, right? It's how you've just done it to get by your whole life. So you're resisting at certain places. And this is one of the places where you need to learn to lift your chest without just doing it from your low back, right? So and remember, when you're doing stuff in a chair, there's the possibility of aggravating your low back more. This is part of why not every yoga class in the universe actually is taught in a chair, right? Because there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. So here's where, if I just do it from my low back, right? I just kind of crank it up from, you can see my back moving here, like everything's getting initiated from right there, right? So when I'm forward, right, I don't want you to crank from down here. I want you to try to find the center of your chest. And I'm gonna move my low back. I'm not gonna be able to stop it, right? But I'm gonna try to lift more from right in here. I won't be able to move as dramatically as I want, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna generate way more heat, okay? Because I'm moving more inward. So instead of this big movement, right? I'm trying to get my upper chest to move without having this move as much. So I'm really activating right through here, right? So if you're Lori, if you're helping your son there, put your hand behind, you put your fist behind his shoulder blades so he gets a lift on his spine right there. And then take his head back. Make sure it doesn't hurt him, right? All right. So now when we're doing this, you're in this position, you inhale, exhale, come forward. At the end of the exhalation, there's a little bit of a pause. That's a good time to find where your feet are and where your sitting bones are. And then lift the chest, but I don't want this big lift. I want the little one, as if my hand or my fist is going right between your shoulder blades. Good, and then release. So I'm actually doing this really dynamic thing. In fact, I can always tell when I'm doing something crazy dynamic because my mouth gets really thirsty because the sun burns water, right? So if I just want you here, and I want you to just really practice, not this one, but that one. So what I'm doing here, as opposed to that one, this one is way more dynamic, right? And it's going to generate more heat. So you're leaning forward and you're learning how to practice like saluting the sun from your deepest underground container, right? So you're just trying to get that to open, right? So I'm doing this. I've got my base centered on my thighs so I can find the part that needs to do the sun salutation. Right? It's way deeper in your spine than you think. So now as you lift here, pay attention to what your shoulder blades have to do. And I'm pretty sure they have to spread. And I'm pretty sure they have to drop. And I'm pretty sure you have to surrender at the center and open it. And all those things have to come together, right? And the upper thoracic is literally harder to move because the vertebrae is actually, there's more calcium, there's more bone. They're knitted together more. So it takes more effort to get your upper back to move forward. That's why this one wants to move more. So do a couple more. So I'm just focusing right now to do it on the keeping distance between my shoulder blades, dropping my shoulder blades, and lifting under my collarbones. So I'm keeping the pose right in here. And I'm doing these things that don't look as dramatic. And if you're doing this with me, you should start getting fatigued because it's not freaking easy, right? If you're just watching, okay, enjoy the show. Except there's no show, right? You can hardly see what I'm doing. I'm freaking exhausting myself because I'm doing it and talking, right? Good, and then release. So now, when you come back up and over your chair and you feel the back on your chair, your chair back on your back, really try to just go back a little bit instead of trying to be so dramatic and toss your head so far back. Work right where the chair's touching you between your shoulder blades and do a little lift right there. Right? So I'm just working really hard right there. Don't worry, Bo, we're going to start moving the arms here in a second. Right? So you're trying to get this interior salute happening. Good. And then release. So no matter what, I already know you kind of strained your low back. Right? So come forward, lengthen your back because we're going to start doing more action and faster. Right? But I want you to get space back in your back because and especially because I'm paralyzed, and I'm also fused right here, you guys. So you're knitted there. I'm actually solid bone right through here. So I have to really be careful not to overdo it, right? So I'm just going to lengthen my back, ground my sitting bones, feel my feet, broaden across my very low back or my sacrum. Oh my God. I'm going to lift the center of my chest without arching my back, right? And then release. So I'm on the inside right now. You should be doing something so subtle no one could see. And you're actually trying to get that to move again while your back is lengthened. So when I'm trying to learn how to do this without aggravating my back, as I'm leaning forward, I'm hitting my sitting bones into this chair seat, keeping that length, and then trying to lift the very center of my chest while still keeping my sitting bones hitting into the chair. Remember, you're asked to do opposite things all the time in yoga. So now, release for a second, and I want you to very carefully do it wrong. Okay, so, and I mean carefully. So come forward again. Don't try to hit through your sitting bones at all. Just be blah. What you know is, by the way, this is not a yoga sound. Blah, right? Now just try to lift your sternum without doing anything on your sitting bones. You see how it goes to your low back? It goes down. Yeah. Ground. Strong. Use everything. Keep your sitting bones down. Keep your heels on the floor. Lift between the shoulder blades. Back and forth. It's like a mini Kegel. You're trying to get action through the center of your chest. I'm working like crazy right now to get it to move. Good. And then release. Whew. So I'm going to sit in the center because that's hard. What we just did was hard if you were doing it. So I'm going to rest for just a second. Now I'm going to inhale and go backing up over the chair. This is the dramatic one. This is the outer body. And then exhale and come forward. And then with my eyes down, with less sun coming into my sight, I'm going to be leaning forward. And now, without arching my low back, I'm going to lift the chest. And then release. And then inhale and come back. Do the dramatic one over the back of the chair. Take the head back. And once I think I got no more, got to admit someone, when I think I've got no more, I'm going to lift the center of my chest without aggravating my back. And then I'm going to exhale forward. All the way forward. Then I'm going to ground. Thank goodness for the earth, right? Push up and start to lift the center of your chest. Shoulder blades back. Then start taking yourself back. Hitting the back of the chair. Taking an exhale here. Inhale. Going up and over. Opening the center of my chest. Don't worry about how far your head's going back. And then exhale forward. So good. And then one more time. So you're going to be forward. You're going to stay really grounded. Lengthen your back. Lift the center of your sternum. Start to raise your head up. Start to push out with your hands. Come back. Hit the back of the chair. Initiate an inhale. Up and over. Once you're up here at the top of your inhalation, open the center of your chest. Take a breath. And then exhale forward. So we're going to do a couple more of those. And I hope it's being some work. Right? I hope you kind of, when you sit down in the center here, you feel a little bit of that flutter. Right? Like, whoo. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more. I'm going to stay from neutral. I'm going to inhale. Exhale forward. Keep my sitting bones grounded. Start to lift my chest. Inhale, center my chest. Come on back to neutral, to the back of the chair. Exhale. Repose. I'm going to now move my hands on my thighs. Inhale with the outer body. Go up and over. At the top of my inhalation, I'm going to try to open the center of my chest. Broaden across my collarbones. And then exhale forward. From the earth up like a snake. Don't come too far back. So that's what that, that in ancient, some of the mythology, the spine is considered a snake, right? But so is it for the AMA, by the way. That's, if you look at their logo, it's a snake, right? And then inhale. Come on up. Exhale when you hit the back of your chair. Inhale, move the outer body. The top of the inhalation, open the center of the chest. Exhale, let it be sensual as you come forward on the exhale. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hit the back of your chair. Inhale, go up and over. Find the center of your chest. Exhale, stay alert to everything. Come forward. Inhale, start the movement up. Make it more sensual. Hit the back of the chair. Inhale, up and over the back of your chair. Open the center of your chest. Exhale, come forward. One more, all the way through the plane. And then back up. Start slow. Come back. Hit the back of the chair. Inhale. Find the center of your chest. Exhale, come forward. So in sun salutation, and then take a break. In sun salutation, they're pretty dramatic. You go from standing upright to exhaling all the way forward into a forward bend, stepping back into downward facing dog, coming into plank, coming into up dog out when you're laying flat to the ground, and then back up to downward facing dog, and then jumping forward. But if you look, and you guys can Google online, like what a sun salutation. There are different versions of it. But if you think about what's happening to the spine, right, in each position, right, that's what I'm trying to teach right now. Right, I'm trying to get this, you guys to recognize that the core of the pose isn't whether you can stand on your feet. It isn't whether you can go horizontal to the floor in a push-up. That's just the window dressing. It's actually the different dynamic energies that are traveling through the spine in different positions. All right, so we're taking time to break this down. So before we start using our arms a little bit more, just like so, I'm grabbing my knees here, and I'm going to lift my chest. But I'm going to do it in a way that I don't overdo my low back, and I try to take advantage to all that I've earned the whole class. Because remember, even in a home practice, you're sequencing. And then I'm going to exhale and down. And then I'm going to inhale up and lift the chest. Try not to strain my back, and then exhale down. So like when I'm super bored, I don't have as many meetings now, but you'll see me doing little things like this, not, when I'm having trouble like having enough energy. I figure out how to move my spine in the middle of things I'm just having to visually and auditorily listen to. And it's a great trick for your attention, right? Start getting your spine more activated. So I'm just doing that little bit, right? So now inhale and take your left arm up. So now you got this great big length. Exhale it down and come forward. Inhale, take your arm back. Exhale, revolve. And again, focus on your breath only insofar as it's effective. Now, when I inhale and breathe in across my floating ribs, my whole body gets lit like it's lit up. And then I exhale and lift that very center of my sternum while keeping connected to my sitting bones. On the end of that next exhalation, inhale and take your arm all the way back up. And then exhale it back down. Now, I kind of hope that you would feel odd at this point if you didn't do the other side. That you'd feel kind of like, wait, that's weird. That's success. Inhale, take your arm up. Slight little lift right here now. And then let it drop. Exhale it back down. Inhale the other arm to where you're going to put it. Exhale your shoulder blades down your back body. Lift the sternum on the next inhalation. Inhale, and then exhale and revolve. So you're keeping your spine in almost straight from top to bottom as you twist. Good, and then inhale. Take your arm all the way up. Exhale it back down. Be symmetrical. Have the ability to find center right away. That's why you practice centering, so you can find it in the midst of poses. Inhale, take the left arm up. Lift the sternum. Exhale it back down. Ground. Finish your exhalation. Inhale as you turn and lift your chest. Don't just lift your low back. That was what the whole class was about, right? And then exhale and then turn your spine if you want. But you got all these different inward and outward movements. And then when you're here and you roll your shoulders back, let the center of your chest touch the room around you, right? Open up. Salute the sun. Good. And then come on back. Inhale, take your arm up. Exhale back down. Inhale up. Right arm up. Exhale it down. Inhale, take the other arm back. Exhale, lift your sternum. Again, let the center of your chest inhale. Exhale even more, let the center of your chest touch the room and revolve. And then inhale it back up. Exhale it back down. Find the center. Trust the center. Inhale back up. Now touch the sky, but keep your gaze soft and the inside of your mouth soft, and bring the sky down to your fingertips. And then exhale here. Inhale here. Exhale, revolve. Inhale, take your arm up. Spine working all the same. Exhale down. Find the center. Inhale back up. Exhale down. Inhale, take the arm back. Exhale, revolve. Inhale, take the arm up. Exhale, bring it back to center. Inhale, hit the back of your chair. Exhale. Inhale, take your up and over the back of the chair. At the top of the inhalation, open the center of the chest. Exhale yourself back forward, all the way down on a longer exhalation. Find the ground, find the pause. Inhale, lift your chest up. Hit the back of the chair, up and over the chair. On the top of the inhalation, open the center of the chest. Exhale, come forward. This time you're going to inhale and take your left arm straight up over your head. At the end of the exhalation, find the ground. Inhale, take the arm all the way up. Lift over the back of the chair. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, turn. Take the arm behind you. Revolve, lift your chest. Exhale, back to center. Take your arm back up. On inhalation, take it down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale back. Lift the chest. On the exhalation, inhale, lift the chest again. Exhale. Inhale, take the arm up. Exhale, back down. Inhale, fill up the vessel. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, come on up. Hit the back of the chair. Exhale, Inhale, back over the back of your chair. Lift the center of the chest at the top of the inhalation. Exhale, come on back forward. This time slide when you come forward. Slide your arm over to your left arm over to the left. And then inhale and start to revolve. So we just snuck in a twist there. It was slinky, right? Good. And then inhale and take your arm back up. Exhale it down. Inhale, hit the back of your chair. Exhale, inhale, come all the way back over. The top of the inhalation, move the center of your chest. Exhale, come forward, keep it slinky, take the arm down. Inhale, engage out of the earth. Lift up, salute the sun. Exhale, inhale, take your arm up. Exhale it back down. One more time. Inhale up. Hit the back of your chair. Up and over. Exhale it back down. I screwed this up. Lift the chest. We're going to do 2 more twists now because I screwed up as a teacher. And then exhale and revolve. Inhale, come on up with the other arm. Exhale, back down. Inhale, up. Exhale. Come back to center. Inhale, take your arm up. Exhale, down. One more of the first one, right? So now, inhale, hit the back of your chair. Take the exhale. Inhale, up and over. At the top of the inhale, open the chest even more. Exhale, change your relationship to light. Come forward, right into a forward bend. Come forward a little bit more. From the forward position, inhale and lift up. Lift under the collarbones. Exhale. Inhale, your arm back up. Exhale it down. Inhale, hit to the back of the chair. Let the exhale happen. Inhale, come up and over the chair. At the top of the inhalation, open the chest a little bit more. Exhale, come forward and right into a forward lean twist. Inhale, up through space. Lift under the collarbones, lift the center of the chest. Exhale, come on back. Inhale, take your arm up. Exhale, back down. Sit there for a second. Feel the hum that you've earned. Instead of forcing your breath to be deeper, feel how the breath can integrate with the hum of action. Feel the symmetry. Either on your legs, I want you to lengthen your back, or on the table. Then without me even being able to see, no turn of the head. Turn your spine to the right. Tiny little movement, not your head. Marlis, not your head. Right? And then back. And then inhale and turn the other way. And then exhale back to center. On this next little inhale and twist, I don't even want to see. I want your right knee to come slightly back, just slightly. Inhale, take the knee slightly back. Move the spine. Exhale it back to center. Now we're doing little movements of the whole class, right? Inhale as you go and take the right knee back, left knee back. And then exhaling it back into center. And be in the center. And let the hum be here. Okay, and then release Shavasana. Bring your hand, go and prepare the. So I'm finding equanimity between how my arms are on my legs. For me, one palm's on top of the other, one hand's on top of the other, my thumbs are touching, but whatever you do that feels good. Soften around the temples, the jaw, the inside of the mouth. Be light. Be grounded. Feel nourished. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body.